Hello, I'm just going to share with you very quickly what I've been up to this weekend at Sketchfest here in Woodbridge. So this is the Tide Mill at Woodbridge. This event is run by Art Safari, who, if you remember, I went to Uzbekistan with. Fantastic company. They do the travel art holidays and they do online learning, and they also do workshops at their base, which is here at the Harbour Master's office. So these are the different locations which are easily within walking distance from the yacht club round to the mill pond. Probably takes about 10-minute walk, not far. So there's literally hundreds of workshops that you can do, and I'll put a photograph here of the different days. And these are the workshops that I've chosen to do. So these are the ones I've got to do today. So you won't see photos for those yet. So my first workshop was with Maxine, and we had an A2 piece of paper which we used to make different brush strokes, and then we cut it up to make this upside down, Sue, to make this concertina book. So the idea with this is with Indian ink and different brushes, different brush strokes, just to make some marks on the page, see what kind of marks you can get. Maxine gave us different words as inspiration. So we had furtive was one of the words, excited, and excuse me, when you cut the piece of paper up to make your book, then different parts are seen when you fold it up to make the pages. So this is what mine looks like. And she had some lovely different tools that we could use as well. And I used some of my own. So that's that side of it. And then the other side is here. And there are some hidden pieces that you also don't see because of the way the folding goes. I particularly like this mark here. It was one of my favourites. And then there's one that folds the other way. You can see we layered some ink, we had some darker ink and some lighter ink. There's that one of my favourite stroke again that joins on from the other bit. And then if you want to kind of see the whole thing, it folds out like this. So if you change your mind, you can fold it the other way. But this is what the whole thing looked like on this side. And this is what the whole thing looked like. So let me zoom out a bit. And this is what the whole thing looked like on the other side. And the important thing with this exercise, if you are going to do it for yourself, is to make sure you leave lots of white space. And I quite like these bits where the ink just splodged. So that was my first workshop. Then I did backgrounds for expression with Marianne, and this was great. I loved it. So Marianne mixed some colours on her brush and then just splodged them. It just did some big marks, and that's the orange that you can see under there. And then when that had dried a little bit, she came along again and went with a different colour on top, which is why there's those splashes. And then we had to use it to paint something that we could see in the River Devon. So that's what I did for that. I think we had about half an hour. Well, the workshop was 50 minutes, so we probably only had about 25 minutes for that, if that. And then we had to make our own one. So I got a bit more adventurous with colours. Some of these I will have to come back and finish when I get a chance, but there's just not been the time really yet. So yeah, this was my background, and then I started with these. I've muddied these colours a bit, but I can rescue that, I'm sure. Then it was big Chinese brush art, well, big Chinese brush landscapes. So this was using my big Chinese brushes that I brought with me. I was just playing with them. I do use them for Chinese brush art, but it's very different using them on this paper, where this is watercolour paper. So that was one of the ones that I did, and I will go back and put some boats and things in. And then this was one that's much more muted, actually. It's more green, more like a sage kind of green, silvery sage green that's coming through, and I like the mistiness of this one. And then Alice did a demo of 3-colour painting and showed us all about mixing. And then, well, some of these are going to be a bit out of order, but I'm sure you won't mind. So on the first night I got here, this was a sketch that I did towards, that's Devon Yacht Club. So this is just a quick pen sketch, which I will colour in because I've taken a photograph of it. I also went to Sutton Hoo, I don't know. And this is my sketch of Tranmere House. Well, I tell you, all the lines on that and all the perspectives. This is a bay window that comes out. This balcony kind of goes along, goes in, along and back. So yeah, lots of mistakes were made, but I get the idea. What was I looking for? Yeah, the guided sketch walk. So this was where we stopped, about 5-minute walk from the Art Safari main office, and we had 15 minutes to do a sketch of what we could see. And this one was with Ian Sedge, and Ian was really good at giving us good advice about having a look at what we'd done and then advising us on our drawings. I'd started here and worked my way over, and it was first thing in the morning. I wasn't feeling so good yesterday morning, first thing, and so I was quite hesitant with all my marks, and then I was a bit more relaxed with this one. And while I was doing this one, Ian gave me some advice about being more confident with my lines and just going for it, basically. So when I did this one here took me 2 minutes, if that. Obviously it's not finished yet. I've got a lot to do in terms of adding colour and maybe doing some background on it. But again, I took a photograph to be able to finish it later. And then we walked on a little bit more and had a different view, and this time I decided to use the Caran d'Ache Neo Colour 2s to do the colour first and then do some ink on top, and I quite like that one actually. That's quite effective. This bit here needs a bit more definition, but again, I think this was 10 minutes, and that's it in that sketchbook. And then yesterday afternoon I did an all-afternoon workshop with Alice Angus again, and we had about 20 minutes to go and do some thumbnail sketches of something that we liked or something that we saw, and there was this beautiful yew tree. So I started with this one using a pen and didn't like that, so then I got out one of my Derwent Inktense pencils and just did this. This was literally 2 minutes. This is about 5 minutes, I think, maybe a bit more. Then I wondered what it would look like with paint, with watercolour, so I did that. And out of the 3, this was the quickest, and it was one I liked the best. I think it had the most energy of the tree, and it's got the spaces. And then I loved this ring on the quayside. This bit here is the shadow, and this was quite rusty. But again, this was a 5-minute sketch, and like 2 minutes maybe putting the ink on. Then there was some flowers, which that went a bit wrong because of the colours. And then I did a little boat. Again, that was really quick. And Alice gave us some good advice about when we're drawing. Obviously, don't put the horizon in the middle of your page. Sometimes we do, don't we? And then also to join, sometimes you can end up with like a bottom part and a top part of your picture. And when you've got that, make sure that you do something that joins the top to the bottom. And in this, obviously, we had masks. So then Alice let us go and choose what scene we wanted to paint. And this was the one that I did. And I'm actually quite pleased with it. I should have left a bit more white space in the water here. But in terms of taking on board what Alice said, and taking her advice on, because obviously she was giving, there were 7 of us all together in the workshop, she was giving 7 of us advice on what to do. And so you gathered lots of extra tuition really through that. So on this I used the neo colours for the sky and the trees, then some watercolour, and then I used a water-soluble a water-soluble graphite pencil for the outlines of the boats and things. I had left the space white. I'd left white space for the boats when I did my background. And then I made sure not to make all the masts the same height and things like that, crossed them over from top to bottom. And yeah, I quite like that. One of the difficulties was that the tide was going out. So by the time I finished, a lot of these boats were more out of the water than they were in. So like this one looks a bit odd, really. I probably should do some more shadow there, but I can see. And then I went back to the ironwork on the quay side, but I kind of didn't do this big enough, this circle here. But I enjoyed trying to get the colour mixes, and I did particularly well on this bit here and around here, and the kind of the age of it. So yeah, I still need to go in and do the shadows. Although actually thinking about that, the reason the shadows aren't there is because the sun had moved by this point and the shadows weren't as obvious as they had been on the previous one. Then we had some storytelling with Anne, and so let me zoom out a bit for this one. So this is Anne here, and these are the Suffolk stories that she told us. So she got us singing a song about a tree in the valley with a branch and a twig and a nest and an egg and a chick. That was good fun. Then she told us the story of the Wild Man of Orford. This was a sailing boat, this was the fishing net, and he was hiding in the seaweed that the fishermen caught. Then he was taken to a castle and they kept him prisoner and hung him by his feet and all things. I couldn't draw everything, and then there was a church where he enjoyed being there. Then she told us the story of the girl who baked the 5 pies and married a prince, and who said she had to spin 5 skeins of wool every year. And this was the Tomty Tot beastie that came along and did the spinning for her. And then there was an old woman who came along and farted a lot, and because she told the prince it was because she was spinning, so then the girl never had to spin again. Then there was the story of the Langham graveyard, a love story, and this was the man who died and then came back as a ghost on a horse, and then spoke to the girl, and the girl died. And then this was I don't know if it was the Boggle story or the Boggart story, but that was quite a fun little story. So that was my quick sketch of each of those things. And then the evening, so that was about 6 o'clock, I think that finished. And then I was walking back along and the sun had come out. It'd been quite overcast all day yesterday. So there were some lovely shadows and things and reflections on the water. So I just sat on the side and painted this one. This is just watercolours, this one. With my big brush and trying to put into practice some of the things I'd learned. And I used my fingers to sweep some of the paint up. So yeah, I think that's all I've done so far. Oh, what's that one? Oh no, it's not all I've done so far. So once I'd finished that one, I moved along a bit, and where the tide had gone out quite considerably by this point, these boats here were all kind of tilting because they were on the mud, and this one was tilting like the other way, and this is the tree, so I need to go back and do some colour on this. I used a really thick fine liner type pen for this, so I think this has been a 10-minute sketch, something like that. I was a bit disappointed with going a bit willy wonky there with the line, but that is it for now. So today I've got 3 workshops. Creative Chaos with Ian Sedge, The Power of Backgrounds, which should have been Tom Shepherd, but I think it's going to be Alice Angus again, and a demo for Simplifying Your Scene with Mark Boyd. So if you've never heard of Sketchfest, it's every August, the first weekend in August, and I would highly recommend it. It's been such a fun weekend and I've learnt so much. And yeah, I'll share the rest of the pictures when I do them today. Thanks very much for watching. Bye now.